Welcome to The Author Show, where we present new authors and books. From fiction to self-help and everything in between, you'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hi, this is Linda Thompson, your host for The Author Show. Are you still looking for that perfect soulmate? Does it really exist? Have you taken the time to enjoy being single without being panicked at being single? Or have you settled for a partner? Then you cheat on that partner when boredom sets in because the relationship just isn't what you had dreamed of. Everybody cheats. That's a pretty broad statement, but it's also the title of today's book. Author Nina Mancuso joins us to talk about why we really cheat and the effects it has on our society. Nina, welcome to The Author Show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Nina, please give our listeners a snapshot of Everybody Cheats.
So it's basically it's not only just about cheating. I mean, I do delve into the excuses we give for cheating and the real reasons we cheat. But the overall thesis of it would be that if we just took the time to be single and really learn about ourselves and know who we are and what we want, we would in turn have that fairy tale ending that we all want so bad, but we just don't believe it exists.
You say your book is a nonfiction work that has more points supported by South Park quotes as opposed to loads of statistics. So how would you describe your writing style?
Short, sweet, and to the point. It is very honest, so I like to use humor to try and soften the blow to our well-defined egos. But due to my technical writing background, it is just very here, there. Not so much very flowy as a novel would be.
So are we talking bullet points? Are we talking text? Do you throw any humor into it?
Oh, there's plenty of humor and a couple bullet points here and there because I can't help myself. I don't beat around the bush. It's all very straight and to the point so that everyone can understand it.
When you're talking about this kind of subject, I think beating around the bush kind of defeats the purpose. So if you were writing an article about your book, what would your headline be?
Probably 10 Reasons to Be Single.
Well, as someone that's been single for a lot more years than I care to count, that's a good one. Your book resembles an iPad or an iPhone. Did you write Everybody Cheats with the younger reader in mind, or anyone of any age can get something from it?
Oh, anyone of any age can get something from it. We are all guilty of making very poor relationship choices. I've done it. Everybody has. And I think it's really for anybody who actually is serious about trying to make not only a better relationship life, but also a better life for themselves in general.
I'm sure that our audience is as curious as I am. Are you single? Have you found that perfect partner? Or are you even looking?
I am single. I have been single for about a year and a half now, but I don't mind it. I actually enjoy it a lot. In terms of looking, I don't ever actively look. It just hasn't really been my thing. I'm not big on online dating. I still believe in the old-fashioned of I'm going to do what I feel I'm being told to do by my intuition, and if I meet somebody along the way, then that's fun. I'll give it a swing. But if not, I'm okay with this too.
What do you think of it used to be, if you weren't married by the time you were 20, you were an old maid, and we felt like there was this feeling of we were only half of a whole if we were single. Is that still the attitude with the younger crowd, or do you think being single is much more widely accepted today?
I think we like to pretend that it's widely accepted, but I think a majority of us still thrive on relationships. I mean, if you just look on TV, you see everything for Match.com, eHarmony. I think there's a big stress on still getting married young, and I think it's the few who really want to do something. Oh, that sounds rude. But, people who do want to start a career, I think those are the ones that enjoy being single. But I think a majority of people, as much as they would deny it, I think they still really want the relationship, and they will settle down with whoever really wants to give them that chance. I think it's more desirable to be in a relationship than it is to not be in one.
So is it the relationship or the idea of a relationship that we're looking for, or is it the person themselves?
I think it's definitely the person themselves. I do think the idea of a relationship heavily outweighs the logical part of how we choose relationships. I think a lot of people tend to get into them just because they want somebody there. They want a rock, somebody who they can rely on because they are so afraid of listening to their own thoughts, of being alone. But I also think it depends on the person to an extent, because there are some people out there that just can't live without relationships. They monkey bar from one relationship to the next. But then there's also the idea of relationships, which I think is probably everybody romanticizes it. You know, it's kind of confusing because I think we're a confused country. We're a confused society. We all want this ideal relationship, and so we settle down with whoever wants to give us a relationship, and then we find ourselves cheating.
You write that cheating affects society. How does a cheating spouse or partner affect society as a whole?
A lot of it has to do with the kids. Kids who grow up in fatherless homes tend to be more so the ones that act out. Also, the kids who grow up in a household with cheating parents, they think it's right. And then there's also the fact that people promote cheating as a way to save relationships, which I think is just absolutely absurd. But when you promote it like that, and we say that, well, you know what, you're in an unsatisfactory relationship, you should cheat instead of getting out of it, well, then all the kids are now going to think, okay, well, that's right. I should do that instead of trying to use logic. And it promotes dependency and also the lack of respect and morals. I mean, I think when we begin to accept cheating as a way to solve relationship problems, we also are refusing to take responsibility for our actions and understanding why our actions are wrong.
You are an accomplished technical writer. Why did you want to write a book about relationships?
Actually, I was on Facebook one day and I came across an article that said 6 reasons to cheat on your girlfriend. And it was shared multiple times, and I just said, please, there's no way that people are listening to this. I can't have that. And it was just from right then and there, I decided, you know what? I'm going to write a book about why this guy is entirely wrong. And it's not just about him, but it was a launching pad for me. But I have always wanted to write a book for a while. I tried the novel thing. I had about 18 unfinished books on my laptop. And this was just the one that clicked. And I said, you know what? I have to go through with it.
What is the primary message in Everybody Cheats that you want your readers to remember?
That you can have a truly fulfilling, legendary relationship, but in order to get there, you're going to have to take some time to know who you are and what you want.
It seems to me like people get married because that's what they're supposed to do, but they haven't taken the time to really get to know the other person. I think it's a really unrealistic expectation to take 2 total strangers and say, I do to one another and expect them to live happily ever after, almost like somebody's waved a magic wand. So what would you suggest we do towards perfecting the idea of who these 2 people are? How do we work towards getting that perfect relationship when we both came from very diverse areas and all of a sudden we fall in love? Well, falling in love doesn't necessarily make for a good relationship. So what do you suggest?
Well, I think the perfect relationship is between 2 independent people who both know who they are and what they want, and in turn they want each other, as opposed to being with each other because they feel like they should be married at this age. We do have a lot of people out there, not to be rude, but a lot of females who give the ultimatum to their significant other of, I need to be married by this time, and if not, we should just break up. That is, I think, one of the worst decisions we can make, because at that point it doesn't even matter who the spouse is. All that matters is that you're married by a certain time frame. So I think the best way to do it is really just figuring out what you want to do in your life, listening to your intuition, and doing what you feel will make you happy and what you feel is right. And in turn, just live life and enjoy it, and don't waste so much time focusing on trying to find your other half, because the more you keep trying to find it, you're probably never going to find it. So enjoy what you want to do, and then when you do get to meet that other perfect person, you'll actually have stuff to talk about because you had a journey of your own. I think the best route to take would be to definitely we just need to know who we are. We need to be ourselves, and we need to enjoy life as an independent individual, so that when we find that other independent individual, we can have an amazing, legendary relationship.
You have a degree in anthropology. In your studies, did you find that cheating has been present across time, or has it become more prevalent in modern society?
I believe it's more prevalent in modern society. In all of my studies, I was mainly focused in archaeology, so not too much cultural wise, but you never really found it across the board in history because a lot of times it was peasant people who needed to be in monogamous relationships in order to survive. And I think it is more so just a modern thing. I mean, I can't give you a decade, but I would say it probably started at some point after the 50s. And I don't think Facebook or MySpace or any of this crazy social media stuff has helped. I definitely don't think Taylor Swift has helped. And I think the media in today's day really promotes dependency almost as if it's a good thing, and it really romanticizes all these relationships. And I think that if more people were okay with being alone, it wouldn't be such an issue. But I definitely don't think it wasn't as prevalent back then because these people, they were living in small family units, and that was how they survived.
Well, I just absolutely refuse to accept the idea that I need to be half of a whole, that I am not a complete person if I don't have somebody else on my arm or sharing my home with me. Because of that, I have found that I come across as a very independent-minded woman, and that scares most of the men off. Do you see that as being an issue as well?
I do, to an extent. I think it's very hard to be an independent woman who can also maintain compassion. And I have seen it across the board with celebrities. So they say, well, they want us to be compassionate, but they also want us to be independent. Well, how can we do both? Well, you can do both. It's a possibility. But I think a lot of people, you kind of hit an age where you're either so bitter. I think a lot of men actually associate independent with being bitter. And I'm not saying I speak for all men, but I think that might be what scares them off a little bit. Or they really don't like it when you make more money than them. That I have learned firsthand. Hey, I don't like it either. I need to be spoiled every now and then. I haven't been spoiled yet, but I assume it's a great thing. But I think the only reason a lot of independent women do kind of scare men is because they went out and they got what they wanted, and sometimes that can just scare anybody away. It shouldn't, though. If it scares a guy away, then he's not the right one for you.
I concur with that one. So in your research, did you find a particular age group that is more prone to cheating than another?
Not really. Well, with today's kids, I mean, they're starting young. I am shocked. I mean, you look now, you have all these 14-year-olds who are cheating. I mean, I guess they ride their bike to McDonald's. I don't really know what they're even doing at 14. But I think it's most prevalent actually probably with people who've already been married. So people maybe in like their mid-30s who kind of realize that they may have made a mistake and jumped the gun too quickly. But you also notice it a lot in probably your late 20s. But really, I think it's that huge chunk in the middle. I would say anywhere from like 16 to 50. I mean, everybody's capable of it. It just matters if you made the right decisions.
Will you be writing more books, and will they be on similar subjects?
I've thought about it. If this one does well, which I hope it does, I was thinking of maybe writing one after I found my soulmate to be like, oh, here is a guide to your soulmate. But I've also thought about deviating from this topic and going off onto a novel as well. But you know what? Writing a book is a crazy experience. I mean, you're isolated and you just have reruns on the television and you're kind of blocked off from the world for 8 months. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to get back into society for a little bit. So when the time comes, I definitely think I'll write more books. But at the current moment, I don't have anything slated.
What is it about Everybody Cheats that makes it stand out in a crowd?
I think it is very personal in the sense that when you're reading it, it feels like I'm talking to you directly. And the fact that it uses... Personally, I love that I used a lot of South Park quotes. I know it sounds a little cocky, but you know, everybody loves South Park, and South Park is a very intelligent show. And this isn't a book that isn't supported just solely on all these statistics and everything. I'm actually using things that everybody has seen at some point in their lifetime. Everybody has heard a Taylor Swift song. Everybody's been on Facebook. Everybody has at one point or another seen South Park. If they haven't, they probably should. And I think that's what makes it so unique, because it is like I'm sitting there having a conversation with you, and I'm also making it so relatable that you can actually, I'm using things that people are used to seeing and hearing as supporting my evidence.
Where can we learn more about you, and where can we purchase Everybody Cheats?
Well, you can learn more about me at my website, ninaemancuso.com. And you can purchase Everybody Cheats on Amazon.com, and it is available in both ebook and in print.
Nina, in the minute we have left, please share with us one piece of advice you have for someone who is single but really doesn't want to be.
You will find the person when the time is right. But until then, enjoy your life and do what you want to do, because then you'll have the experience, and therefore you guys will have tons of stories to talk about when you finally do meet your other half.
Nina, I really enjoyed our conversation and will admit that I've learned a lot from it. I believe a lot of our audience is going to be very interested in reading your book. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nina says, we cheat because we're bored or unfulfilled. However, if we took the time to be single and live our lives, we would be brought to our soulmate. In turn, we can have that fairy tale ending that we all desire but no longer believe exists. That is the best advice I've heard in a long time. This is Linda Thompson concluding another edition of The Author's Show. Please share this interview with your friends and family so that they too may have the opportunity to discover our guest and her work. And why not help spread the word on social media as well? Please join us again next time for another exciting author and another great book on The Author's Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author's Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-55-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com, theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author's Show.